Oh, yeah, yeah.
3, 2, 1.
There we go. And then mine is also rolling.
Running a lot. Okay.
All right. Actually, let me see if I can zoom out of mine as well. As long as there's no earthquake, these phones are fine. Okie dokie. Welcome. All right, we got a camera there, and then we got the Twitch streaming camera there.
All right, let's get this show on the road.
All right, welcome to the first podcast. I'm Peter.
I'm Cyrus.
There we go. We're still working on a title or the name of the podcast, but it's just Peter and Cyrus for now. Probably C and P and C.
More to come.
Stay tuned. Yeah. No, today we're just we talk about a lot of stuff. I guess we can go through a rundown of everything that's come up to here. We smoke a lot of hookah, or we go out, not a lot, but we go out a lot, and then mostly chill places where we can just sit and talk. And every time we go there, we're talking about something: conspiracies, Iranian culture or history. Not so much music, a lot of politics. We probably won't be going over politics as much.
Everything you name it, whatever you can imagine and more, we've talked about it, and then some. So
yeah, and then some. Yeah, we don't want to be divisive, but we babble a lot. Sometimes there is no facts behind what we say.
Yeah, sometimes we just make stuff about thin air,
and we just say it because we just go with it. We're bored.
We don't even remember what we're saying the next day. We're like, man, what was I saying?
Yeah, in our mindset, if Hawk Tua can make a podcast, so can we at this point.
Exactly.
At this point, anyone can do anything.
I can spit too. I'm not gonna do it on camera, but if she can do it, we can do it.
Yeah, and we wanted to make this as Persian as possible. The goal, I don't know for Cyrus, but for me, the goal is to introduce friends, or just hopefully, if it gets that big, introduce like the West to Iranian culture. People are aware of it, but it's just not enough. We know about the Roman Empire, we know about the Greeks, the Macedonians, Alexander. We don't know much about Persian culture besides Persian cats, Persian rugs, and kebabs, and that's about it. So hopefully we can enlighten, starting off our close friends in America about Persian culture, everything with that, and then some. And then hopefully one day we'll be Patrick Bet David level famous. We'll get the Shah or the Prince to come and chat with us.
And Donald Trump too.
Donald Trump also. Everybody. But yeah.
Kim Jong-un too.
Kim Jong probably not. I feel like the CIA. I feel like that'll be like the intro to like the interview.
Hey man, Dennis Rodman did it.
Dennis Rodman did it?
Yeah, he's best friends with Kim Jong-un.
No shit.
He's been there several times. Like even the U.S. government, whenever they want to meet with Kim Jong-un, they always send him as a representative because he's one of the few people Kim actually trusts in the world.
Yeah, him and Dave Franco. No, James Franco.
That's the movie.
And Seth Rogen. Those guys apparently they got good with Kim Jong Un. No, Sean Penn, wasn't he friends with like Che Guevara or something?
I wouldn't be surprised, man.
Sean Penn was like buddy with one of the, I think it was either Cuba or like Venezuela. He was like friends with like a political leader, I think. I don't remember.
You'd be surprised. A lot of these famous and influential people, they run in tight circles. Apparently Justin Trudeau's mom knew Fidel Castro pretty well.
A little too well. Yeah.
Some people say he's his legitimate son, he stepped down now. He's not even the Prime Minister of Canada no more. Any Canadian watching this, I don't know how you feel at the moment,
Yeah, we don't want any... I don't know, I feel like at this point Canada as a whole just doesn't like Justin Trudeau. So they'll probably agree. They'll probably get on and they'll probably agree. But yeah, no,
it's about time he goes, eh?
It's crazy. Yeah, it's crazy times right now. Just the world in general. We got the LA fires, and I hope everyone. I got some family in LA, so I hope they got out. I don't know if you've got any friends or family in LA.
Well, I know some people in LA. I just want to preface this by saying, I hope everyone's safe and okay. But let's talk about the fires, man. I was actually in LA 1 week before the fire started.
Right.
The weather was chilly and cold. Yeah, I get that is a fire-prone area, but how in the middle of winter did 5 fires start at the same time? All the woodland and forests are untouched. It's burning down through residential areas. And I just find it kind of odd that in 2028 they got the Olympics coming up. They got a FIFA tournament coming up. They keep saying we're going to make a smart city. Then coincidentally the water gets shut off. Electricity goes out and stuff. It just, I don't know. It sounds too good to be true.
It's a little funky, yeah. It makes you feel like it was done intentionally. And Kungi is over on. He's saying to turn up the volume. Do you have a volume button on your thing?
Let's find out.
Let me see.
I do not.
Check. Wasn't there? I think
there
there's.
is.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Check there, and then kind of turn the volume up on that. That could be a reason.
Mr. Kungi.
My friend here, Cyrus, has been dying to meet you, man.
Hey, man, I'm your biggest fan.
I've been
like a cool dude, bro.
Yeah, I've been telling him all the stories about you. So yeah, no, we were talking about the LA
just
fires.
Seem like a modern Lee Kuan Yew. I'm like, okay, I gotta meet this guy,
A very hedonistic one. But yeah, no. So we have Twitch, but we also have Instagram as well. YouTube is being difficult to work with, so we're not doing YouTube. But Instagram and Twitch, we've got that. His voice wise, it's kind of low.
I got you, man. Hold on.
Yeah, just talk louder, I guess.
Hello, is it me you're looking for? How is sounding?
I think it should be good.
I think it's better.
I think so.
Show some love, man. Show some feedback.
What I can do is since I think it's something's going on, so we'll keep the volume here. But yeah.
Why don't you do it right now, man? You can slap a kid right now. I'm not holding you back. Do your thing, bro.
He's a teacher.
Oh, I used to be a teacher too. Hey, man, it's good. But you think like a job where you teach the next generation, bro, they would treat you with more respect and pay you more. Nah, bro, teachers, you gotta deal with all kinds of stuff. Yeah, man, I wish I could have slapped some students too. Yeah. I was gonna fight with one of them too. I remember the dude, he was trying to square up with me. This guy, he threw his backpack in the class, right? And I said, hey, you gotta take it out. And then he was trying to fight my students too. I said, you gotta leave. Then he said, fuck you. And I slammed the door in his face. I said, fuck you too. Then this guy went berserk, man. He was trying to break down the door. He's punching the door. Then my students were holding back the door. He's like, come out and fight like a man. Well, luckily the principal was right there. They saw him and they sent the guy to jail. Not even the jury. They sent him to jail and he was never heard from again. He was big too. He was like 6'3", super senior, 19.
That's why teachers should have guns. Not just from intruders, but also from rowdy
teacher.
students. Yeah.
Hey man, a substitute teacher, but you know what? It is what it is.
Yeah. No, but going back to the LA situation. It's crazy because, like you mentioned, they have the Olympics coming up. They have the World Cup coming up. LA's kind of like crowded right now.
Yeah, it is.
So it makes you sometimes makes you wonder. And the whole thing with the water, I don't know. I haven't really gotten into LA that much. I didn't, really didn't get into it. And they're saying that there's like a shortage of water, or there's like dry season or something. Yeah, of course you'll be on the next show, but I really got to run. It'll probably be, let's see, we probably got to have a live stream, because Fridays and Saturdays, I think Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays for him get really busy.
Yeah, man, for sure. It would be nice. It'd be fun. I'm down.
He's 14 hours ahead of us, so I think right now, it's like almost 9 a.m. So he's going to go to the work right now.
Yeah, man.
He'll probably stay on. But leave us on mute. But yeah.
Train the next generation to be hedonists too,
Yeah. No, he doesn't fight. Well, he does. He doesn't fight kids. He like fucking dominates them.
That's even worse, man.
They're like slapping around and stuff.
Nah, bro.
He's usually fighting with the parents.
Parents. I mean, the poor parents, they got their problems too. I don't know.
Yeah. But yeah, no. We decided to deck out the table with all things Persian. We got pomegranates. Obviously, pomegranates is a world thing, but in Iran, we really like pomegranates. Red is like the main color. You know, when you like our Persian rugs, the base color is red. Our holidays, you dress in red. You know, yeah, pomegranates, you gotta have them. Everything is like red is like our national color, sort of. And it's you know, so we got the pomegranate, we got Persian candy, we got tea. Cyrus, what is your cup? If you wanna show to the
got an
camera.
illustration very closely at it. You can see it's a warrior slaying a dragon.
So
Rostam the warrior,
yeah, so
my great imaginary
ancestor. Yeah, he's from the same city or
My mom's
like
from the
state
same city.
or province that Rostam the character was in. He is the equivalent
Of Hercules.
to like Hercules or Achilles.
But they didn't make no song for him. They didn't make no Hercules.
They
Hercules song for him.
They didn't. No, so they Rostam is the equivalent. You know, he's most notable for having a white demon helmet on his head. That is the most notable thing, is his helmet. And then he doesn't have a mace. Generally, he is supposed to have the mace, but this one doesn't have the mace. But he is warrior kind, more, I wouldn't want to say barbaric, but more of a warrior clan.
He's an old man with a bad temper, if you want to hear it like that.
Back in the Book of Kings, the Shahnameh, everybody lived over 100 years. Rostam lived about 500 years. Some of the kings lived up to 1,000. Well, no, that's mostly Zahak lived about.
And he had a kid when he was 300 too. He had a kid. He abandoned his baby mama, went back to Iran, right? And then the kid comes looking for him when he's a teenager. And what does this man do? He doesn't not only say, "Hey son, how you doing? It's been so many years." He comes and murders his son.
Yeah.
This man was a different level of crazy. I'm just saying.
He said no child support here, and then he's like, I'd rather kill my own blood than.
His son was just trying to like make some money too, you know, trying to be a warrior like his dad. His dad said, "Nah, you gotta go."
Funny thing, that's actually not Sorab. That's Siavosh. That's his ward. So Kekavus was the king at the time, and he sent Siavosh to grow up and kind of learn under Rostam's tutelage. And Kekavus had a bit of a wife, you know. Siavosh had a stepmom problem. Like that was the original like whoa stepmom kind of relationship. So to not get involved in that, man was on business. He left.
So for those of you who watch Dragon Ball, he's Gohan. That guy's Piccolo, okay? So maybe make that connection.
Yeah, that's the right one, because Goku was a terrible father. But basically, yeah, it was Gohan, Piccolo.
There you go.
But yeah, no, he died, and that caused a war between Tehran and Iran. We'll go over it. We just wanted to have an intro. Yeah, we'll go baby steps. That's who Rostam is. That is probably like Iran's, like, I guess you could say, Bible. The comparison to the Bible is
not even Bible.
That.
It's the Iliad. It's the Odyssey.
Well, no,
it's
like
a national epic. It's the Beowulf.
Yeah.
It's the Mahabharata. It's many things. I don't know if Bible would be the case, you know, but
well, no, it's kind of like on level of importance and kind of like. I mean, dear to like the Bible is important to Americans. That is like their like the best book. That is their favorite book. You talk to any American conservative or Christian, you say, "What's your favorite book?" They say the Bible.
I mean, to be fair, no one's knocking around on people's doors and saying, "Have you read Shahnameh?"
Well, of course, yeah. I mean, are you talking about like in Iran?
In Iran too, bro.
Well, I mean, they obviously wouldn't because people already know what the Shahnameh is.
No, you'd be surprised. A lot of people only vaguely know about it. Even there, a lot of people don't know about the stories.
Yeah. No, it's for us on a matter of importance and identity. The Shahnameh is probably up there. Then you got like poetry authors like Hafiz and stuff. We were actually reading up on him last night.
That's right.
Very hard. He writes in like Persian calligraphy, which you know, but I have no idea. Bless you. I do not know anything about Persian calligraphy. It's so difficult to read. It's just that's on a next level, but you do.
Hey man, a lot of stuff is difficult to read in life. People are difficult to read. Sometimes, you know, you think you're talking to someone, they're cool. Next moment they switch up, you know. So
Yeah.
sometimes it's hard to read the signals, read the room, as they say. Sometimes you're in a party, right? And you bring that one person with you, right? You probably encounter the situation. You bring somebody who just says something to piss off the whole group of people. You try to give them a little nudge, but they're not reading the room. So
Yeah.
you
No,
have
I
those
mean,
people.
like, Kungi's like that sometimes. I can't get a beat on him. Sometimes he's talking in sarcasm, and I have no idea if he's being real or sarcastic. He's like that sometimes. He gives me like anteater vibes, the way he's built, or like a gray head, like an alien. I feel like we do that. We
You're
roast
talking
each
about
other.
his immigration status? You're
No,
talking
no,
about-
no, no. Like those gray, like the American propaganda about extraterrestrials. I feel like he's kind of got that gray head shape, alien head. It's,
Dang, I want to use it as a crystal ball.
yeah.
Rub it for good fortune,
But I'm pretty sure he's not on. I think he muted us because he's got to go.
Who's on the live, bro? I feel like if I get live requests, I won't see it from here.
I want to check my Instagram right now, but then everybody. No, actually, I don't think they will because our screen is hidden. What's in the blue is hidden. So yeah,
So they can only see like that.
They can only see us. They can't see what's happening behind us.
Dang. So what is it? Show me, bro. It's like a green screen.
No, it's just
Oh, nice.
literally it's just so if I go to home,
Hey, click on my live. Yeah, see what it looks like.
what's in the blue is hidden. So
Oh my god,
they
this
can
is
only
really
see
cool.
they can only we got some people watching on yours. We have some people I think on mine. Oh no, I'm less famous.
Dang, so what is it showing me, bro? It's like a green screen?
Hey, man.
It's not that bad.
It's behind us, though. It's slower.
Nice.
Yeah. So there's a little bit of a delay, but yeah, no, I mean, we'll get some more people coming on. Most of the people in Iran right now are asleep anyways.
Yeah, I thought
it's
this
like
was more
9
for
hours
American
ahead.
audiences. That's why we're
Yeah.
speaking English, man.
And then there are also obviously people who probably are popping on Twitch right now as well. But yeah, no, my cup, back on topic, my cup is more Zoroastrian vibe. I don't know. You wanna read the Farsi? It's
We got
the motto.
good thoughts, good words, and good deeds, okay? These are the three principles of Zoroastrianism. This is their prophet. His name is Zoroaster. He's a guy from Bactria, modern day Balkh in Afghanistan.
Yeah. So a little quick rundown of this guy. So little is known about his origin. Some people say he was born like 1,000 years ago, 300 years before Cyrus the Great. A lot of people, there are many thoughts on if this guy even existed
in the first place.
or if it's because like for example in the Shahnameh they didn't know that's who's Cyrus and Darius, or they only knew of their kind of their lore but didn't know what their name was until modern history, where we learn how to speak or how to understand ancient
Cuneiform.
cuneiform. And so they gave them random names like Jamshid or
Dorog and
Kekavus and stuff like that. So they didn't have names for them, and then it could very well be the same thing with Zoroaster. He might have been a real person, and they just gave him the name of Zoroaster. It could actually be the name of Zoroaster. However, his morals were the most important thing. His principles on the religion of basically the core principles: good thoughts, good words, and good deeds. One of the common misconceptions that people get from Zoroastrianism is that they worship fire. Ergo, that will mean
Fake
that they
news.
are,
That is fake news.
yeah, that they are fire worshippers. Therefore, they're the product of the devil. We admire the fire for being an attribute of God, and it's more of a metaphor for the purity of light, and so the fire is more of a symbol. It's the equivalent of the cross or the Kaaba. For the Jews, it's the Star of David, I guess. Yeah. This isn't really so. You will see this. You'd probably see this in Assyrian and Egyptian. Like you see a similarity in the symbol. It's a guy with the wings, and he's holding like a halo or something. That is the symbol, but that is actually just uh, the standard for like the symbol of God, because the Assyrians, we got the symbol from the Assyrians
The
first.
Egyptians had it.
The Egyptians had it. Sumerians
We see it
had
in
it.
multiple cultures, and that goes and begs the question: why do all these ancient civilizations have these winged figures in their mythology? Does it mean they could fly? Was it early man's obsession with flight, or was there extraterrestrial involvement?
Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah, and so this is not Ahura Mazda. This isn't Zoroaster. This is just a symbol for God. Because in the text they say we don't have an image for Ahura Mazda, or in Iran we call it Ormazd. But we don't have an image for Ahura Mazda. This is just a symbol of God, and that's about it. But it's just adapted from previous cultures. But yeah, and what's cool is, and I was actually researching this not too long ago, so I was having, I guess you can call it a debate, or we could say disagreement with this other fella that I had at a debate con. He was saying Zoroastrian is not the oldest monotheistic religion.
what was he saying?
I don't know, because I said it was about 4,000 years old, and he's a YouTuber, I think, and he said it's actually not. It's much less than that. And recently, I found out, I think it's either in Turkey or I think it's in Turkmenistan. There was a fire temple founded that was found to be in the second millennium BC. So that is about 2,000 years before Jesus.
Wow.
So 2000. We're in the year 2025, and then 2,000 years before Jesus. Now that's not to say exactly 2,000 years before Christ, but that's just saying in the
It's
second
old.
millennium.
It's
So
been around for a while.
over 1,000 years. So it could be 1,000. It would be 1,300, 1,500, 1,100. We don't know, but it was thought to be in the second millennia BC, and it is the most historically proven, outside of books, archaeology and stuff like that, because
Speaking of which, it's interesting. They found ruins of fire temples in China, especially in the Xinjiang province, right?
yeah,
And it was pretty widespread on the Silk Road. They found it as far away as Madagascar. Recently in Madagascar, they found these caves, which have certain burial mounds there, which are only found in Fars province, Persia, which is several thousand miles north of the Indian Ocean. So they have followers in Africa, in China, in Rome, in Greece, Russia.
and
all
you
over the
actually
place.
and you actually see that specifically in Rome, but it was more so towards Iranian paganism, like Mithra. Mithra was celebrated. I don't know if she was necessarily worshipped, but definitely celebrated as a figure in, I guess, Eastern Rome, where there was more Iranian influence. Mithra was definitely included. China, I know, Taoism and Confucianism were both inspired by the duality of Zoroastrianism, so that's not surprising that they found fire temples in China. And I mean, overall, Iran had a pretty good relationship with China. When Alexander the Great took over Iran, Darius III fled to China to rally a counterattack. I don't know if but he died before he can get to China.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, well, this is according to Alexander the Great.
I know Yazgurd, the Sasanian king, he was trying to escape to China. Even their court, they did escape to China.
Yeah.
They were there another couple hundred years. They tried to launch a counter invasion and never worked out.
According to Alexander the Great, we don't know how accurate this is. Darius III was assassinated by one of his lieutenants, one of his own men, and that's the whole thing. That was the whole story, that Alexander the Great captured the assassin, tied him up to two trees. No. I think it was either tied him up to two trees and cut him in half, or tied him up to 4 horses and they went in different directions.
Wow.
He killed the guy. Now, how accurate that is, I have no idea, but we'll just have to take, I guess, what we have and just assume that that's the truth. Is that Alexander avenged Darius III?
Maybe it's not the truth. We don't know.
We
That's
don't
what I
know.
heard.
We don't know. At this point, it could be anything. A dinosaur came and killed Darius III. We don't know.
Might as well at this point.
But yeah, that's Iran had a pretty good relationship with China. Do they have a good relationship with India?
Yeah.
I know. I can say probably most likely Zoroastrians were influenced by the Hindus, because a lot of their terminology is also it has been inputted into Zoroastrians, like Asura, Indra, um, but it's flipped. No, Asuras and Devas. So for us, Devas are the bad spirits, and um, I guess we call them Asha. Those are the good spirits. But it's flipped in Hinduism, where the Devas are the good spirits and the Ashuras are the bad spirits, or something.
But staying on the topic of Zoroastrianism in India, it's interesting. The largest surviving population of Zoroastrians in modern time is in India.
Mm-hmm.
You may know Freddie Mercury, the famous singer. He was a follower of Zoroastrianism. His family were Parsis from Bombay, India.
Yeah.
They sought refuge there, and ever since then, they have been a wealthy and influential community. They like classic cars, and they were very instrumental in starting the movie industry. Bollywood had a lot of Zoroastrian directors, especially in the early years.
So with the Zoroastrian community, or just the religion of Zoroastrianism, they lost a huge portion after the Sasanian Empire, when the Islamic caliphates came and they conquered Iran. I think the first caliphate, was the Abbasid Caliphate. You probably know more about. What was the
Rashidun, Umayyad, and then finally the Abbasid.
I think the
Caliphate.
I think it wasn't. I don't think it was the first one. It might have been the Umayyad and the Abbasid caliphates. They were fairly respectful to the Zoroastrians. They didn't persecute them. They were pretty respectful of, making them, having them worship their own religion. But then afterwards, I don't know which caliph it was, but they started pushing more on taxes. That you are not forced to convert to Islam, but you have to pay taxes, higher taxes, and you have to openly admit that you are beneath the Muslim population. So
Initially they preferred they don't convert because they got more money from taxation.
Yeah,
and they had a lower social status too. So
So from there, the majority of I want to say like 60 to 70% moved to India, and then a smaller portion, probably like 30% or 40%, stayed in Yazd, which is like southeast or central, south
smack
central,
dab in the middle of the country.
Right in the middle. It was a very small community of Zoroastrians that are still there today. They're left alone just as long as they don't convert anybody. But they do still exist in Iran, but the majority of them are in India, and that's where they've been. It's been a very close community, though it's obvious. Like obviously, there have been outsiders that have wed into the religion with Hindus. Right. So it's not just pure-blooded Zoroastrians from the Sasanian times. They got a little bit of ancestry along with the Hindus there. I do like their story, though. When the Zoroastrians came to India and they met with, I don't know what the equivalent to king in India is.
Raja.
Yeah. He had a cup of goat's milk and he filled it to the brim. And he said, this is the country of India. At the time, I think it was Hindustan. How are you going to fit in this cup? And one of the Zoroastrians came in and poured sugar into it and said, we are not going to add to the population. We're going to dissolve into it and become one of you guys.
He's right. They really did dissolve into the population. In fact, they were dying as a community too. Not too many. The big portion, big reason why it's so small is because the Parsi community is so stuck on it's a closed community. You cannot convert. You have to be born into it. So you have to be born into it and wed. You have to marry another person that's been born into it. And a lot of the youth do not want to stay in the community, so they move out. Here in America and also some in Iran, they're open to converts, but the biggest community, which is the Parsi community, are not. And so that is one of the reasons why the population is small and dying. It's only 200,000 in the whole world.
In the whole world. That's give or take. Obviously, there could be more, there could be less, but that is how much that is counted.
And ironically, a lot of them ended up here in Dallas, which is how we met each other in the first place. Last year, almost exactly around this time, there was a Zoroastrian holiday.
What was it?
Sadeh, ancient Persian holiday of fire. According to legends from the Book of Kings, the Shahnameh, King Hushang was hunting in the mountains one day, and he had a party along with him. He sees a snake. He pulls his bow and arrow back. It goes, but it misses the snake, and it hits a rock and creates a spark. And man discovers fire. Of course, this is a legendary account. However, it shows the instrumentalness and the importance of fire in the Zoroastrian faith. And even in humanity's development, even from a secular perspective, mankind became man because of fire. Before that, we were primitive creatures. Fire led to everything else coming to the modern day.
Yeah, no, I mean, the Shahnameh wasn't built like thousands of years ago. It was built like, it was like 500, no, it was like 500 years ago. Do you remember the year? It was like 1400?
That was.
The Shahnameh, when was it written?
It was written 1,000 years ago.
Yeah,
the
1,000 years
stories
ago.
and myths in it are even older.
They're older, but the stories, they kind of gave kind of like a backstory to most of the, like the little things. I mentioned them in a video I did a couple weeks ago regarding the flag, the Sasanian flag, the Kaveh's sigil, or the Kaveh, the flag of Kaveh, which was a kind of like a winged, I think it was a winged creature, or it was a circle. It had like, it was supposed to look like a flower or some kind of lotus or something. It's purple, and the background is purple. The flower itself is like yellow or gold. They gave it a backstory saying it came from Kaveh the blacksmith. Kaveh is also a mythical character. That's not what created the logo or the emblem, but that's what they call it now. But no, the Shahnameh has a lot of backstory to a lot of things, like same thing, fire, Sadid and stuff like that. It's all mostly metaphors, but yeah. What were we talking? We're talking about Zoroastrians, right? And they're in Flower
We're
Mound.
talking about everything. They're here in Flower Mound. You mentioned the flower flag, the Kalvioni Derash. They have their main headquarters in Dasir, their main fire temple in Flower Mound. See, I feel like there's a lot of coincidences in life, but they say there's no such thing as a coincidence. So really, life is intertwined. It's crazy, layer after layer.
I mean, it depends on who you talk to. If you talk to like an atheist, they're just gonna say, no, it's just pure luck, or a matter of chance. Nothing is like, there is no such thing as destiny. Blah 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 blah. We're all just electricity.
Well, let's be atheist for a minute. Just the fact you're here, that's still a pretty lucky chance, So just roll with it.
I mean, people always ask, show me evidence, modern time, of of the last time there was a miracle, and I mean, like, you can call it, science, but you can also call it a miracle that Earth is in the sweet spot where if we were just a little bit away from the sun, we'd be freezing. If we were a little too close to the sun, we'd be burning. And not only that, but we have the asteroid belt, where it's literally, I think after Mars, there's the asteroid belt that kind of separates the first few planets, the outer planets, and the asteroid belt we have meteors coming all the time, and the last time we had a big one was during the dinosaur age. Wow. And that's one miracle. The fact that we're in the sweet spot. I mean, that's kind of the same thing if you had a petri dish, and you had bacteria, or you had like one drop of like some kind of bacteria, that it would germinate and overpopulate, and you'd have like a petri dish full of bacterium.
Hey man, just the fact that we wake up in the morning, in my view, is a miracle itself. Life is beautiful. It's crazy. You never know what comes next.
The other interesting thing to be grateful about is like, there are, I don't know, I feel like when it comes to this more scientific, stuff, you're better at it than I am. But how many sperm cells are within,
billions?
semen?
They say you got billions and billions. And of all them, you're the one who won the race.
Yeah, you could
working a 9-to-5 job.
The person I'm talking to could be, I don't know, balding like me, and or muscular, possibly gay, or more.
Possibly, I thought that was confirmed. Man. Or fact check this. Hey, let's fact check this right now.
Or it could be someone who wanted to go in the route of being a doctor, the medical field, rather than a businessman. So there are multiple different versions. Maybe the version that could have been you would have been someone who would not have found me appealing to be friends with me. You never know. I mean, like, the version of you that's here today is also a miracle in and of itself. obviously, an atheist would probably disagree and
I
say
think
it's
you
just a
forgot
matter
to
of
mention
chance.
the biggest miracle, with respect to all the things we just mentioned. Just the fact that I'm the one who still has my hair,
Yes.
and he lost his hair is a miracle.
Yes, that is very true. I'm having that middle-aged Iranian hairstyle where you're bald on the top and then you got hair on the sides.
We are accepting donations for his hair
For my
transplant surgery.
my trip to Turkey.
His trip to Turkey.
And we're open to donations to take me to Turkey and to give me a hair transplant.
If not, we'll give him some of my hair follicles too. It's okay.
Exactly.
I'll take one for the team, bro.
Yeah, no, I'm like Jason Statham, just with a better mustache. But yeah, no, I mean, and initially what I was getting at, we kind of drifted into the Parsis and then into miracles and stuff. But what I was going to get at is regarding the religion of Zoroastrians. I think what's so great about it is the majority of the book is gone because of invaders like the Macedonians, the Muslim invaders, the Mongols. The majority of the book is gone.
It's called the Avesta. I got this copy
Yes.
from the main Zoroastrian fire temple in Yazd. They are very hesitant to sell this to people because of restrictions there.
Yeah.
They had to look over their shoulders, make sure
Kind
they
of like
put it
drugs.
in the
It's kind of
washing,
like paraphernalia.
and they gave me a book. Yeah, not paraphernalia
Yeah.
in that sense, but it is what it is.
So this is specifically this is the Gathas.
It's a trilingual inscription. You got Avestan, which is the language of Zoroastrianism, ancestor of Pashto, which is spoken in modern Afghanistan and Pakistan. You got modern Persian and English. So, you can come borrow this version.
I think they're seeing it. I guess we can show it to them as well on Instagram on that side. But yeah, no. So the majority of the book is gone. I think there were, I believe, 76 Gathas, and we're left with like 13.
Wow.
So
Unlucky number.
it's weird. The way the Gathas works is they're hymns, but there are like 13 sections that we have. I think we used to have like 76. I really need to get in touch with the Zoroastrian community again because I know we had a lot more and now we only have a fraction. But I think ultimately that is somewhat of a blessing that the religion is open to interpretation. The problem with most religions is that over time they got more specific and more specific. Now, a book that was written a long time ago dictates what is considered morally good and morally wrong, whereas a book like this, I'm sure if we had all of it, it would have been more specific on actions, but we don't. All we were left with after Zoroaster was the Sasanian kind of era where they were competing with Christians and they got really specific and they created the Vendidad. And the Vendidad is basically how you should live your life, and then while demons engramain you, Ahriman is kind of polluting the life. So it's very controversial.
Mm-hmm.
They talk a lot about you should respect dogs, kill turtles, because they align themselves with Ahriman.
Well, that's zero Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle fans.
Exactly, and then it said that gay people were corrupted by Ahriman. It was not aligned with what Zoroaster said. It was written by a lot of corrupt magi that were kind of in competition with the Romans and the Christians. So they wrote a lot of books such as the Vendidad. More hardcore Zoroastrians don't even read the entire Avesta.
Wow.
Because the Gathas, which this is the Gathas, it's within the Avesta, but the Gathas are the only source or the only text that is written by Zoroaster himself. The Avesta, most of it was written by his pupils.
Hold on, slow down. Didn't earlier in the video you say we don't know if Zoroaster existed?
Yeah.
Which begs the question, how do we know he wrote it in the first place?
No, well, we don't know, that is very true. We don't know if his name was Zoroaster. We know that someone clearly lived around that time that, wrote the books. But we don't know if his name was Zoroaster. We don't know if he was a prophet. We know he was a poet and sort of a literature expert.
It's interesting. I heard conflicting theories, and this was proposed by the archaeological community. got tongue twisted. They were saying this. They were saying that originally it was just verbally transmitted from generation to generation, similar to the Hindus too. Like a lot of these Sanskrit hymns were just memorized by scholars, by their priests, generation after generation. Only like 1,000 years later were they ever written down. So Zoroaster probably didn't even write. He might not have even been literate.
Yeah.
He might not even have existed.
So this is where it kind of gets complicated because paper, at the time of Cyrus the Great, they wrote on clay tablets. Paper wasn't invented until much later, and so they were writing on clay tablets. However, languages like Sanskrit and their sister relative of Avestan have existed long before, clay tablets and such. So there was, oh shit, I just dropped myself. There was a language system that was already set up, but we just don't know when that was or when it was written. I'm sure there are experts that know, but we just don't know when this was written because, like you said, for like the first few centuries after Zoroaster, it was mostly memory based, and then once they realized they can write shit down, I'm pretty sure that's when they,
You ever play a game of telephone? Chinese whisper, as they say in some circles. You start with one person here and work your way down. And oftentimes your message does not end up getting transmuted too. So
No.
who knows what the original message was?
Exactly. And so there are a lot of people that say even the Gathas were also tampered with because some parts were missing. But in regards to like original text, they say the Gathas is the most original. We're obviously not 100% experts. We know I guess you could say the part of the origin or the history of
We dabble in
Zoroastrians,
history.
but it's still very like minute. We would learn from experts, but even then it's not 100%. No one has 100% because it's been so long.
You know
At
what's
least it's not
interesting?
0%.
Even the image of Zoroaster was only made about 200 years ago. So this Parsi painter had a dream where he saw Zoroaster. He painted it, and since then that's became the default. But a lot of people argue he got influence from images of Jesus Christ or Imam Hussein from the Shiite Islamic faith. So nobody knows.
Yeah.
But that's interesting. You make the most of it, whether it was the case or not.
A lot of Abrahamic people, it could be Christians, not so much Jews. The Jewish community, I guess you can say, is allies or friends with the Zoroastrian population because of Cyrus the Great. When he freed the Jews from the Babylonians, we kind of mixed our knowledge and our literature with each other. So the Jewish community respects and kind of like treats us with respect, doesn't think we're sinners or pagans or polytheists. They kind of respect our views as well. More when you lean towards more so to the younger religions like Christianity and Islam, they kind of attack the integrity of the religion. Like,
but let me preface this: we respect people of all faiths on this channel.
Of course,
but we will throw jabs. We will throw jokes.
We'll throw jabs, and we will.
No one's spared here.
Exactly. Even Zoroastrians themselves. No, I mean, obviously, we give everyone with respect as long as respect is given back. I have a big problem, personally, I don't know about you, Cyrus, but I have a big problem when people call me a fire worshiper or they call me a pagan. That is, pagan's a derogatory term nowadays, kind of basically puts you like outside of the main bubble.
Are you sure? Because some people call themselves neo-pagans.
Yeah, but that's their way of kind of like taking ownership of the title, because you've got like the 5 main religions of Christianity, Islam, Judaism, Hinduism, and Buddhism. You're kind of in this sphere where everyone respects, and outside of that sphere, you're kind of considered like an untouchable. Like, you're the weird guy. Like, if you're...
Are you sure?
Yeah, if you're in a friend... So obviously today in America, in the West, we try to be respectful of everyone.
Everyone's respectful. What about Shintos? What about Taoists?
Exactly. So if you're a minority, you get this title of you're a pagan. You're kind of like a Neanderthal. You're old school, or you're a small minority. So it's okay if we give you a little disrespect.
The Neanderthals were always knocked down, especially in the previous decades. They said they're primitive. they're backwards. But nowadays, archaeologists have found out that they're actually quite advanced,
Dude,
and they almost became the dominant species. I don't know what our ancestors did. They interbred. They had some warfare. They say even stories of trolls and monsters around the world are actually just living memory, collective memory of the Neanderthals.
And I mean, in a million years from now, if the human race is still alive, they'll look back at who we were today and they'll say the same thing, that we were primitive.
Maybe they won't even have physical bodies. Maybe they'll just be, souls or machines, or maybe they'll transmute into something different. Maybe they'll be exactly the same. Maybe there'll be no more humans. We don't know. Whatever happens.
Yeah.
You know, the thing about time is, and we'll circle back to Zoroastrianism to bring in the concept of time. They say everything, the past, the present, and the future, are all man-made constructs. There's no such thing as time. Everything really exists at once, just in different realms of existence. So, if you want to think about it like that, Zoroaster is somewhere preaching, a woolly mammoth is roaming the earth as we speak. There are starships floating around in the sky, but the thing is, Zoroastrianism itself did bring a new element to man's interpretation of time, and that is the idea of the judgment day, which was lacking in Judaism prior to their exile to Babylon.
Yeah.
Which was just goes to show how much of a cultural exchange happened between the Jews and the Zoroastrians, because they were freed by Cyrus the Great, and they remained in Persia till the modern day. Right now, the biggest Jewish community in that region outside Israel is in Iran, interestingly.
Yeah, no, and I mean, a great point too, because, and I just wanted to I don't mean to glaze my own religion and culture, but just kind of give credit where credit's due, because at the time, philosophy in religion wasn't religion and philosophy were separate. So you had Aristotle and Socrates, who were more secular. They took a step back from religion. At the time, it was the gods in Greece.
Greek pantheon.
Yeah, but they kind of took a step back and focused more on philosophy. The Abrahamic religions were focusing more on philosophy, or just religion, theology, and less on secularism and human rights. But Zoroastrians at the time, it's comparable to modern day, because Zoroastrians, they combined theology and philosophy together. Secularism was not a common thing back in the day in almost any region. Even in Greece, they had slavery. They had a scale of who was had
Social
more
hierarchy.
rights. Yeah, because in Greece, in Sparta, the person with the biggest amount of rights was the Spartan men, the soldiers, and then you had your politicians and businessmen. Women were in the next one. Then you had your farmers, and then you had your helots, the slaves. In Iran at the time, women had equal rights to men. Slavery was banned.
But they were hierarchical too. They had a class of priests, warriors, farmers, and peasants, and artisans.
Yeah, slaves. Fortunately, slaves was not part of that. Women can own land the same as men. And we know all this. This isn't just speculation. For example, when we freed the Jews from Babylon, we paid we built their temple through taxes.
Yes,
we didn't have
as
slaves.
If it were yesterday.
As if it was yesterday.
Don't you remember the good old days, man?
The good old days, man. Just looking at the stars. I wanted to be a camel herder. Just kind of live a nomadic life. No, but going back to that, and this isn't just speculation, because what's so promising about the sources that we cite is it's not from one place. So you have the Cyrus cylinder, you have archaeological statues and tablets. You have all of that. You also have the Bible that brings up the name Cyrus the Great. So you have all these sources. It's not just from one source. If it was from one source, you can question. It's sources can be altered with, books can be altered with and tampered, and Chinese telephone game and stuff like that. Those things can be tampered. But you have the Cyrus cylinder, which basically is the first declaration of human rights. So it's not the Declaration of Independence. In fact, the Declaration of Independence was inspired by the Cyrus cylinder. So
Thomas
you have
Jefferson and other Enlightenment leaders and founding fathers of the United States were heavily influenced by Cyrus's philosophy, which was in turn influential on Greek philosophers, and it made its way down to the present day.
No, and so you have that. You have a statue of Cyrus in Passagar. You have his tomb. You know Cyrus is a real person.
Right.
Even the Jews acknowledge that they were given a free ride back to Jerusalem and had their temple rebuilt not by slaves but by taxpayers. It was for a nation that existed like 500 years before the birth of Jesus. It was so modern. We didn't have the technological advances that we do today,
But they made some astounding technological advances too. The Postal Service in the U.S. actually commemorates them. They had something. I think it's called Chapar Khune or something. I don't know what the term is exactly. But in the old days in the Persian Empire, which stretched from Greece to India, you could send a package. It would take 2 weeks to get from Athens to like northwest India. Even nowadays, if you send a package, and that same route, it might take 3 weeks or 4 months just to clear customs, just to go where it needs to go.
right.
So they would send a man with a horse, and he would go as fast as he could. And then he would hand it off to the next man at the next station. And they would go and go until it would reach its final destination.
Yeah.
And it was pretty impressive how fast news and soldiers and goods and everything spread in that empire.
And that's obviously we're talking about the era of Cyrus the Great. Obviously, we don't know much about that time. Clearly, kings like Xerxes and Darius may have had political prisoners as slaves or servants. But if they had slaves, we don't know. All we have really is sources mostly from like people like Herodotus and Greek writers and philosophers. We don't have much on Iranian writers. Most of the history books and stuff were burned down in Persepolis when Alexander the Great burned down. There were rumors that there was a Avesta book, the original book that had the complete Avesta and all the Gathas.
Written on gold skin.
It was written on gold skin with golden ink, or like it was melted gold, basically. That got burned down. The rumor is kind of like the Library of Alexandria. It's partially mythological, partially factual. We don't know how accurate it was. It was probably a rumor that the whole Avesta was there. But most of our sources, the majority of the sources have been burned down or kind of pushed aside because people started taking the Greeks' word, like Herodotus and other philosophers. We don't really look into like Eastern philosophers as much.
Maybe Confucius would be a outlier among
Possibly, yeah. There were clearly a lot of Eastern philosophers, but they're not cited as much. But yeah, no. For the time, it was very new to have an empire not built on slavery, where the women were equal to their male counterparts. It was very different, and that's crazy because I feel like over time the society went backwards.
Oh, yeah.
Because Christianity came 500 years after Cyrus the Great. Islam came 600 years after Jesus. So in that span, we started focusing less on secularism and philosophy and more towards theology. Mm-hmm. And we went the opposite direction of secularism, and then we hit the Enlightenment period and we kind of found secularism. Theology was still a big factor, but we started going more towards secularism. But I feel like had we focused on secularism since Cyrus the Great and kind of talked about human rights and equality, we could have been in a different state than we are right now.
Absolutely. And circle back to Friedrich Nietzsche wrote his famous work of philosophy, thus spoke Zarathustra, or Zoroaster, which was a major impact on the philosophy field. Nowadays it's still widely quoted. He was a nihilist, but he found some source of inspiration from Zoroastrianism. He was saying that if history went different, it would change the course of humanity. But
yeah, no, and we actually talked about that. We were talking about last week. We were talking about Leonardo da Vinci and how he created all of these inventions, and how the Catholic Church denounced like half of those inventions. Apparently, there was a rumor that he created what would be known as a vehicle, where he created some kind of like prototype for a car or a helicopter. But the Catholic Church like rejected it or something. And I mean, shoot, if we had kept that invention, or if the Catholic Church did not reject that invention and kind of went along with that and advanced from the prototype of what we see as a vehicle, I mean, shoot, we might have had flying cars by now.
I mean, we're supposed to have them by now too, since the 60s and 70s. The Jetsons promised it to us.
Back to the Future promised
Back
it.
to the Future too. I don't see
The closest thing we
cars.
got were the hoverboards.
Closest thing we got was Spirit Airlines, forcing
Yeah.
me to wait 2 hours.
Yeah. No, I mean, but like, so I'm pretty sure Conan can't hear us, even if he even is online. But we've had arguments back when I was more towards theology than philosophy, where we would argue, and we were talking about the potential. Well, it's not potential. There's a high chance that life exists outside of the solar system.
Oh yeah, I think mathematically, just statistically wise, there has to be life.
I mean, just
Somewhere
yeah,
out there.
like just realistically speaking, they exist.
Maybe
But-
it's not advanced life, but it's still life nonetheless.
But one topic that we were, I guess you could say, debating or disagreeing on was the possibility that extraterrestrials, because when we think of extraterrestrials, like we think that they don't believe in the idea of God, because there are a lot of books that talked about time as a human construct, religion, spirits, all that is a human construct, and that
Absolutely.
it's not. It's that we would assume that aliens would not believe in God. But we're putting our own human kind of perspective onto those extraterrestrials. My friend still is on the boat that extraterrestrials do not believe in God because human advancement cannot exist with religion, with the idea of God. So
What if extraterrestrials don't believe in anything? They just do.
kind of like animals.
Kind of, yeah.
But that would be very difficult because you would need a functioning brain to build these machines that can travel at light speed. Because the best thing we've created was a telescope, and that could see that far ahead. But we don't have any machines or vehicles that can travel at the speed of light or like some sort of like teleporting machine that can teleport us to another planet millions of light years away. So the argument he's making is that it's impossible for aliens to believe in a God if they are that advanced.
What if they don't believe? Let me change the point of focus. What if instead they have no inner monologue because of the structure of their brains?
Mm-hmm.
They simply create and transmit information instantaneously, kind of like fungi, right? They say fungi, mushrooms, and mold, and these organisms, they're far more closely related to animals than they are to plants.
Mm-hmm.
Believe it or not, just from cell structure, the way they live and stuff. And if you harm one mushroom, it spreads to the entire forest. They get the signals, it's like a signal that travels through their brain immediately. What if the aliens are fungi-type organisms? They are organisms that are advanced. They can think, but they don't need to believe in anything because they have like a hive mentality.
Right.
Same way the world is moving in this direction. Now we got AI, we got machine learning. We have kind of a hive, it's a mixture of humans, but since they're all in touch with each other through different devices, really they're spreading information almost instantaneously.
Yeah, no, and really what's funny is, so all of these theories about how a extraterrestrial species would respond or think is all based on the limitations of like the human mind. Like we don't know what we don't know. So
Exactly.
and that's the same thing with just the idea, the philosophy of God, of a God figure, is we put this human limitation of this idea of God that we can only describe God based on the limited knowledge.
Define God.
that we know. That's the thing, it's a human definition.
What is God? There was an interesting study. There was this missionary/linguist who went to live with a tribe in the Amazon. I believe it's the Piraha tribe, deep in the Amazon forest. And he was trying to convert them. He learned their language and stuff. They have an interesting belief system. They don't have any spirits or deities that are outside of the realm. Whatever they see is what they believe in. And they actually saw a creature. They were telling him, "We see it right there." He said, "I couldn't see anything." They have a different perception of the forest and jungle, and they see these spirits or phenomenon, and for them that's a different organism too.
Yeah.
So they asked him, like his name Bob, they said, "Bob, did you ever meet Jesus? He said, no, I didn't. They said, do you know someone who's personally met him? And he said, no again. He said, so what? Then they asked him, so why are you telling us about it? Because in their tribe, they only accept what someone told them directly or from someone they know what they heard from.
Yeah, and really, that's still, like, you would have, like, atheists would say, like, we don't necessarily think that you're lying, it's just what you're thinking might not be accurate. Like, basically alluding, it could have been an illusion or a delusion. It might not,
Or
just because you,
delusion.
yeah, just because you saw it doesn't mean it was there. It doesn't mean you're lying, but it also doesn't prove that it was there. It could have been an illusion. And that's what the standard person would say, that you have a whole tribe of people that can see spirits that people can't see. Right. Oh, they're clearly on LSD, or they're on drugs, or they're
some magic thing
lying.
In the forest.
Exactly.
Ayahuasca or something.
And so, clearly, the idea of God and the idea of how aliens communicate only goes as far as we can comprehend, because clearly they can think outside of that. It's like picturing a sixth dimension.
Right.
So we're in the third dimension.
We are in the third dimension.
We kind of comprehend what the fourth dimension is.
How so? What is that?
I have no idea. But
So we don't.
We don't. I don't, because I'm not the expert. But people keep bringing up the fourth dimension. I don't know. It's like sound waves or some shit. I don't know. Or better yet, it's like, so there are the mantis shrimp. The ones that like shoot out like that.
Yeah.
Humans have, what is it, 3 wavelengths. So the colors that we see are based off of like 3 wavelengths of color. I think it's the red, yellow, blue, or something. Mantis, the mantis shrimp has 9 wavelengths.
Wow. So they see 3 times as many colors.
Yeah. So the colors that I think it's 9. I can't remember. Well, we can look it up. But basically, what they see, like we see red, they would see something more than red, and we can't comprehend those colors, whatever colors they are. It's because our perception is limited by what we can see, by the wavelength of colors that we see. Mm-hmm. So from what like a mantis shrimp would see, probably that red thing, furniture right there, they would probably see a bunch of different colors. We only see red. They could see colors that we can't comprehend.
Yeah, you brought up an interesting topic. Ever since I was a kid, I always wondered, how do I know this is blue?
I've been thinking that.
What if what you see is not what I'm seeing?
Exactly.
How do you know?
This is why we're friends. No, so I was thinking the same thing. Like, so we both know that this is blue. However, your blue can be my green.
Right.
So like this is green. Obviously, there's a whole bunch of science mumbo jumbo that goes along with the wavelengths, but perception that links back to what you were saying about the Amazon tribe, that they perceive things differently. So we both can agree this is a green book.
Sure.
But your green can be my blue. My blue can be your green. So we both know this is blue, but that could be my version of what you would see as green. So it's everything. All these theories and all these ideas are all limited based on what humans can perceive. So I guess bringing that back into the idea of religion and God. So we have Christians that believe that God is basically omnipotent, omniscient, all-knowing, and that He predetermines all of our lives and outcome. And that leaves a lot of that leaves a lot of holes in that argument, especially from atheists. That why is there so much violence and corruption and bad things in the world? And the Christian can only make so many arguments before they say, I don't know, I'm not God. Everything, when it comes to theology, everything for some reason has to be black and white. You can never have this gray spot. Maybe God just did not intervene.
Maybe that goes back to duality of everything.
Exactly. And you can kind of tell by the tone of Abrahamic people when they're criticizing Zoroastrianism, because they got words like fire worshiper, pagan, you're not a monotheist, you're a dualist. There are all these hidden, there are these underlying tones of derogatory, like kind of like disrespect, to kind of like nudge at you that you're not reliable because you're outside of this mainstream bubble. But like for Zoroastrians, we don't believe God interfered in anything. He created the world and just left it at that.
How do you know it's a he? What if it's a she?
Mainstream. Yeah. I don't know. I feel like it is kind of like has a negative derogatory kind of like.
I wish it was like in Persian. He, she, it is just one word, just ooh.
Oh yeah. Ooh. So.
And that goes back to language too. Language also changes your perception too. The language you speak changes the way you perceive the world.
Yeah, no, for sure. So we believe that God has even the topic of the prophet Zoroaster. God didn't show itself. I'm gonna say that God didn't show itself before Zoroaster. Well, he did, but it wasn't like kind of like the burning bush where like you can visibly see it. It was more so kind of like images of like when he came out of that creek or that river. He was technically baptized because he was waist deep in water. That was considered like a metaphorical baptism. He was purified, basically. And he comes out and he sees some kind of like bright light or vision, and that gives him like asha, or like, kind of gives him the good mind. And so even that, God didn't reveal himself. Like if Zoroaster's friends came in, like they would also see him, or they would also see God. That wasn't the case. It was more so visions that he was implanted, and he saw bright light or something, but he didn't see like a figure, like a God figure. So, or maybe he had, I don't know. But the idea is that God did not reveal itself. He created the world, and that was all he did. He kind of left us to our own devices. We don't believe in supernatural things we don't like. Praying is more of meditation. We don't believe that if we pray hard enough that good things can come our way. That limits human like functionality and movement.
But you know what they say? They say faith can move mountains too. So what if when you pray and you meditate, you can do and manifest what you're seeing in your mind?
But that would still require you to do something.
Right.
Like a lot of people, they pray. That's why many Iranians have given up on religion in general. They're not necessarily atheists, but they believe in a God, but they just gave up on prophets and what the holy books says, because what's been happening in Iran, they lost faith in their religion, and now
what if everything's predetermined, like you said? So if everything's predetermined and everything has sort of a destiny, then why should somebody come and pray when everything's already foretold in the beginning? And if time itself is a man-made construct and it's all going on at once, do we really have free will then?
That's one of the things is that's why a lot of atheists that I watch on YouTube, more so anti-theists, they just hate the idea of religion. Mm-hmm. Like they would take it so far as to say like, fuck God,
expletive,
yeah,
XYZ.
And I'm like, whoa. All right, we obviously don't know 100% if God is real, but I still, even if he is, I'm not going to insult my creator, because if he is and he's like, so you're talking all that shit, you're not getting past these golden gates.
What if you are your creator? What if since you're creation, you're just manifestations of your creator? So that's just a cycle and a loop. Again,
that still just goes back to human limitation. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't.
It's interesting. I was talking to a Buddhist monk, right? This acupuncturist / Buddhist monk, pretty cool guy. Met him in New Orleans. He was saying that in life, nothing actually belongs to you. You say, my car, my house, my money, blah, blah, blah. They say it's not yours, because when you pass, you don't have it no more. You can't really own nothing. Even the cells in your body, your hair, your skin, you inherited them from your parents too. Mm-hmm. And generation after generation, their cells live on with you. So it's like your ancestors are alive at the same time that you are. So really nothing in this world belongs to us.
No, for sure. And so nothing is determined. Nothing really belongs to us. The idea that if we pray hard enough, wars can come to an end and babies can stop dying. Like I'm not talking about abortions. I'm talking about like war, like what's happening in Palestine between them and Israel. Kids are being affected by it, and people keep losing faith because what kind of God would allow? Would allow is the key word. What kind of God would allow babies to die? Well, maybe God's not allowing anything to happen. He's letting us take care of our own thing, because every time there's something great in the world, it wasn't. I mean, you can thank God for creating the humans to create that great thing, but it's not necessarily God. It's the people who came together and stopped that bad thing from happening.
But if God already knows what's going to happen, God already knows the course of history, and so just lets it do its thing, right?
Yeah, you can be. That's the same thing with, and it was a meme because cameramen in the wild don't get involved in what happens to an animal. I was watching this sad story about a baby lion or cub was squished by like an elephant,
Wow.
and the spine was damaged, so the back legs did not work,
Yes.
and the rest of the pride abandoned. Even its own mother abandoned the lion as well.
Because the creature had no chance of living.
No chance of living, and the cameraman, personally for me, I would have picked that guy up and I would have raised it. I would have helped it out. But cameramen don't get involved because they say that's part of nature. We
It's a
can't get
circle of
involved. It's a circle of life. That's the same thing with God. God, if every time he gets involved in something that changes the course of history or life, for example, if God really did answer everybody's prayers, some people would be, they would be damaged rather than helped. So for what I mean by that is, if say you're in the hospital and your parent is on like life, they're on like life support,
Right.
and then doctor comes up and it's like there's very small chance your mom or dad can make it out of this, but he's got a healthy liver, and we have someone who's in dire condition of a liver transplant. Your parent is the only person on the list that can save the person right now. He'll
Right.
die tomorrow. So you pray to God because you don't want your parent to die. The person whose parent needs a liver transplant, that person is praying that he does get the liver transplant. So God needs to make a choice. Like, do I want? Should I have that person's parent die to transfer that liver to that other parent, or should I have that person, his parent, die, and this person who had the accident stay alive?
I think we need to let the audience think about this and kind of make a decision. Maybe now would be a good time for a brief intermission, and we can reconvene.
Yeah.
Further down.
Yeah, no, and yeah, that was just little discussion. I don't know how long it's been. About
55 minutes.
no, we started around 6:45. It's been a little over an hour.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Wow.
Oh we will.
So I guess yeah, I
Check
guess
out the live.
we can cut the live for now, and then but basically I guess the final thought is: do you think God has some kind of intervention with our world, or is it more so he took a step back, let us take care of the world or destroy it, or does he even exist at all? That is, I guess those are the final thoughts.
And let's think about what God actually means, because everyone has a different definition too.
Exactly. And I guess we'll take an intermission for now.